Good morning, beautiful. Hi, I'm Jordan James, and this is Good Deeds Buffalo. I want to thank the Hispanic Heritage Council of Western New York for sponsoring this episode and allowing me the opportunity to take the time to give back and highlight the good deeds of the city of good neighbors that often go unnoticed. On Good Deeds Buffalo, the Western New York community will nominate someone for their good deed. This person would be involved in the community and oftentimes our beacon of hope and kindness. And by merit, I will select someone to showcase and thank. Enjoy the show. On the last episode of Good Deeds Buffalo, I sat down with Alex Burgos, an LGBTQ+ advocate and a candidate for Erie County Democratic Committee with a mission to build stronger communities. To watch or learn how you can help Alex and his mission, head over to gooddeedsbuffalo.tv. Now, on this episode of Good Deeds Buffalo, I will sit down with Tom Jasinski, a double organ transplant recipient who, while waiting, was concerned that he might be one of the 22 people who die each day waiting for organs that do not come. During nearly 2 years on dialysis, Tom researched everything he could about transplant and organ donations, and he learned that New York State was near the bottom per capita, and that there was over 10,000 New York State residents waiting for life-saving organs. It is now Tom's life mission with 1850 to bring awareness to help increase the New York State donor registry and save lives. Meet Tom and learn about his work when we return to Good Deeds Buffalo. Joining me now in studio is Tom Jasinski. So Tom, what is 1850?
1850 is a organ donation advocacy effort. 1850 means one donor can provide up to 8 life-saving organs for transplant and impact at least 50 other people through tissue donation. And commonly in the realm of organ donation, people don't understand that those other factors come into play.
Okay, so you said one donor can save up to 8 lives?
With via organs.
And then help 50 others with life-saving or improvements in their life, like skin, grafts, and things like that?
It's extremely impactful, and you know, that kind of falls into, you know, some of the myths and things. You know, if you have grievous illness and stuff, people that pass away from cancer that were registered organ donors, if they're approached to be organ donors, invariably, not always, but invariably, they're able to use their corneas for cornea transplants.
Wow.
So nothing is out of the realm of possibility of what can be used and have a huge impact on people that have huge medical concerns.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Tom, when did you find out you actually needed a kidney and pancreas transplant yourself?
Yeah, actually 13 weeks after my wife and I got married. Wow. I was not feeling well. I had put on a lot of weight. I was short of breath, and we didn't know at that point in time, but it was because my kidneys had failed and I had a lot of waste built up in my body. Wow. And when I went for a workup, I was told that I was an end-stage renal failure.
Wow, so what was the timeline? Like, when did that happen? What year did that happen? And then how long did it take to get to you today?
Me today is a different story, but from the time we were diagnosed, it was September of 2010. There's a number of medical evaluations that you have to go through when you're being worked up for transplant. They want to make sure that, number one, your body will be capable of accepting the organ that's transplanted, and that it will be a proper host for the transplanted organs. And quite candidly, that they don't want to be wasted, you know, if somebody has other medical issues that would preclude that. So from the point of diagnosis to actual transplant was 23 months. 23
months. So what was it like waiting for a life-saving donation then, Tom?
For myself personally, I've always viewed things in my life as I'm no different than anybody else. I get up in the morning, put my feet on the floor, and whatever the day presents, you one foot in front of the other and go from there. It was incredibly challenging or worrisome to me for the effect on my wife, my new family. My children had just lost their mother literally 6 weeks before I was diagnosed. Their mother passed away from brain cancer.
Wow.
And within a 6-week period of time, it's like, okay, we lost our mom, and you know, this could be happening with our dad. Really, really challenging times.
Yeah, so your children had like a double whammy there with losing their mom, but you said that they came together. They surprised you, right? Like they were able to take care of things the best they could.
I was so impressed with the dignity and grace that they showed with everything that we had to go through, and the maturity that they showed through that period of time.
Yeah.
Somehow we did a good job.
I think it runs in the family and in the blood, that being able to keep going and hold the dignity that you have. And just as when we met, I could just see it beaming right off of you. It is so wonderful. Now, you were nominated by your wife, Ginny, so I could tell she's a huge support for you.
Absolutely.
But I want to hear from you, how important was it for you to have the support of your friend, your family and your children through this endeavor?
That's a really important thing that a lot of people don't catch up to. Organ donation, organ transplant doesn't just affect the patient. It affects their families, it affects their neighbors, their friends, their work colleagues and everything. It's got deep roots, and people should view those scenarios in that context. And I'm grateful. We've got great friends, we've got great support, and I'm all about karma. And all the good karma that I could generate or we could generate absolutely had an impact on the success of my transplant.
It is wonderful when you feel and you see that good karma finally come back. And I know you're doing so much good to raise awareness for organ donation in Western New York. Who donated to help you?
We'd be taping the rest of the year if we went through everything. The long and the short of it was, while I was being worked up for the medical process and make sure that I was clear for it, shockingly enough, they found out that I needed triple bypass.
Okay.
I had no heart issues. I had passed a number of stress tests and everything. There were just some numbers that were off. And Valentine's Day of 2011, my wife and I went into South Buffalo Mercy. The doctor performing the procedure said, I worked with your cardiologist before, it's a false positive. You and your wife are going to remember this day for the rest of your life. You're going to be active on the transplant list. And 45 minutes later, he comes back in the room and says, I don't know how to tell you this, you need triple bypass. In the big picture, in the moment, it was devastating. But in the big picture, if I had not been up for transplant, I could have had a catastrophic heart attack.
So it saved you then? A little bit, in a way.
Yeah.
It kind of raised the flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think God has a greater plan, and in that moment, He showed you, and it is so powerful. And when I talk about your story, my mom, I made the decision to donate her organs, and it's why I had to have you on, because you're somebody who's speaking up about organ donation and the importance of it. My mom was able to help somebody see again with her corneas. And now people are helping you being able to live a fulfilling life and help raise awareness. So what does the future look like health-wise?
My nephrologist, our kidney doctors, and I, we're very close friends. I've known him for a long time. And he jokes around that he doesn't even know why he sees me because my numbers are so strong. And if that is not a ringing endorsement. The other thing is my kidney transplant, even in the realm of transplant, my story is a little bit different. Due to the way it played out with the heart procedure, after we went through that, my wife and I went out to Sonoma to visit her brother and sister-in-law who owned a vineyard at that time. And while we were resting for the journey we know we had before it, there was a knock on the door, and their cousin and his wife were in town for business. And their cousin's wife said to Ginny, my wife, we know Tom is sick. What's going on? I'm sitting, on the deck with a catheter in my chest.
Oh, wow.
And she explained that, Tom's an end-stage renal failure, needs a kidney transplant, and she's like, we'll test.
Wow.
And it's like, wait a minute, we all had some wine here, and we're, and going from there. The Reader's Digest version of the story was she was quickly ruled out as not a match. He ended up being a match for me, and it's not as though I did not know him. but our relationship was passing at best.
Yeah.
Up to
so
that
you
point
didn't
in
really
time.
maybe think you could ask him, but I'm glad that it came up, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
So his name was Paul?
Paul.
Well,
yeah.
thank you, Paul, for your donation and helping Tom. I mean, you've been able to accomplish some great things, and I know you're going to go on to raise awareness. Now, we mentioned awareness. What are some things that you're doing in our community to raise awareness of the need for organ donors and to get people to donate?
We're very proud. We've had a long 5-6 year relationship with Narden High School. Getting that information out to young adults is extremely important. There is also, I call it a cross-pollination. It gives those young adults the opportunity to speak to their families about it and get some input. And I tell them the volumes of children, young adults I've spoken to in this mode, there's a very strong likelihood that those people will have to make life and death decisions at a point in time in their life. And I said, it is important for you guys to understand what your parents may or may not want. It's equally as important, if you have an opinion on this, that you share your opinion with your parents to give them the resources they need. Off of that relationship, we've built a relationship with the Educational Collaborative of Western New York, which works with the 13 area private high schools.
Okay.
So we've been able to grow that base out a little bit. I do tons of public speaking. We are increasing our social media platforms. I've engaged with the health department in New York State and state issues. I've helped write legislation with then Representative Chris Jacobs when he was at the state level.
Wow.
To
So
try
some real
to
good efforts
advance
you're really putting into this.
some things, and you know, it's multifaceted. You have to take a full approach to it. We're currently, to the best of my knowledge, the only organization in New York State that facilitates organ donor registration via text.
Okay.
And with our current fundraising efforts, we are now expanding that to, we developed a QR code to make it easier for people to register via just scanning the QR code and jumping into our system. We use Donate Life of America, so literally anybody in the United States can register via our social media platforms.
Oh, wow. Now, so is there any more organizations that you're involved with you want to mention?
We do work with Youth Coalition for Donation. We have worked in the past with the units now Connect Life. I have very strong relationship with the head transplant surgeon at ECMC, Dr. Lise Kaler, who is doing a spectacular job with their programs over there.
Oh, wow.
I've got strong relationships with Cleveland Clinic and UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and other transplant centers. And I've spoken to or with people from all around the world, you know, that are advocates themselves.
Oh, wow. So you're certainly out there doing the best you can and talking and reaching, having those conversations, right? It's about the conversation. You don't know what you don't know, and you're helping people be aware. So what are some myths about organ donation?
Generally, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too this, I'm too that. At the point of somebody passing, which in the context of organ donation or transplant is brain death, a medical team at the facility the person is involved with makes a decision on what can or cannot be used, and the calls or the requests go out. If they are registered as a donor, the family is notified that we're finally at that step. If they're not registered as donors, there's an end-of-life counselor that speaks to them and asks if that's ever been considered.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just like you had to go through with your personal situation, and a determination's made at that point in time of what can or cannot happen.
Yeah.
In that line, though, very quickly, a few years ago, there was an elderly gentleman in his early 90s that passed away, relatively good health, but they were able to use his liver for a 68-year-old grandmother. Now, obviously, that's not going to go into an 18-year-old.
Right, but still.
Conversely, a gut-wrenching story to me, there was a young couple a few years ago who were pregnant. They were late in the pregnancy and found out that their child was not going to live too much further past birth, and they made the gut-wrenching decision to carry the child to term so they would be able to cultivate the organs for infants or young adults that needed transplant. And being a parent and a grandparent, I can only imagine how gut-wrenching that decision was. But invariably, when I speak to parents who had children pass away and they were used for organ donation, invariably their comments were they felt their child didn't die in vain.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a difficult decision to make, but I do want to say the end-of-life counselors at those donation centers, you know, they worked with me, and they are great people to talk to about the grief and what decisions and how to make the decisions. I urge you guys that are watching to have the conversation with your mom, father, or anybody that maybe you might have to make the decision for, just so you have that peace of mind knowing where they wanted to go.
It relieves a lot of anxiety.
For sure.
I mean, unfortunately, at that point in time, it's the worst possible time to have to make a decision.
It sure is. Now, what's the best way to find more information, Tom?
You can go to 1-850.org. It's ONE, the number 8, FIFTY.org. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We will be on Instagram shortly. We do have our website that has information. We're in the process of updating that, and we are going to be saturating our social media platforms from this point forward.
All right, Tom, sit tight. Later in the show, we have a surprise for you when Good Deeds Buffalo continues. Make sure to follow us on all of the latest social media: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Jordan moll-vigrass, whose stage name is Jordan James, was considered selfless and wise beyond his years at a young age. One childhood classmate, Ashley, remembers Jordan giving her his own backpack and splitting his school supplies with her on the first day of 5th grade because she didn't have either. In 2015, Jordan founded a nonprofit organization named Blood is Blood, dedicated to encouraging the FDA to seek and implement blood donation policies that are non-discriminatory towards gay and bisexual men after he was turned away himself for being gay, ultimately encouraging the FDA to change their once indefinite deferral to a 12-month deferral in 2015, currently a 3-month deferral as of 2020. Jordan has held a yearly Blood is Blood Gay Alliance blood drive in Buffalo, New York since 2015, resulting in saving well over 680 lives. Jordan was featured on sites like Advocate.com and TheHumanist.com because Jordan went as far as to remain celibate for a whole year from 2017 to 2018 just so he could donate blood and raise awareness against the FDA's arbitrary policies. However, things for Jordan and his family took a horrible turn March 9, 2019, as Jordan got a call from his mother Margie telling him, "I'm having a heart attack. I'm scared." In which Jordan replied, "I'm scared too, but you are the strongest person I know. Let the doctors help you." Margie was admitted to Buffalo General Hospital where she stayed heavily sedated on life support while medical professionals tried to get her on the path to recovery. During that time, Jordan spent every day by her bedside, getting little rest when family forced him to. In the morning hours of March 17, 2019, Jordan drove up to Buffalo General Hospital in hopes of good news. However, that was not the case when Jordan arrived. He was greeted by a young medical professional in training who said, "Did the doctor come to you yet?" Jordan said, "No, I haven't heard anything." Jordan's heart sank as he just felt that hope was slipping away. The medical professional said, "You might want to take a seat, Jordan. Your mother is showing signs of being brain dead. There are brainstem reflexes coded into our brain, and your mother is not responding to any of them." Jordan paused for barely a moment and asked, "Can we donate her organs?" Jordan knew, because of his work with bloodisblood.org, the perfect candidate for organ donation was someone on life support, and he knew his mother, who dedicated her life to serving others at places like the Salvation Army in North Tonawanda for several years, but most importantly her 4 boys, would want her to give the gift of life if she could. Margie passed March 18, 2019 at approximately 1:30 p.m. Her family donated her eyes, corneas, and skin. Margie's donation helped 2 people see again and countless burn victims. Shortly before her passing, he and his mother spoke about creating a TV show to focus on the good people in this world because all you see on TV are bad people and stories. During quarantine, Jordan started a TikTok account to help other LGBTQIA+ people find a safe place to have fun and be themselves. In February 2021, Jordan James started a group called Safe Space by bloodisblood.org to connect with the LGBTQIA+ community with resources and information while creating a fun, inviting community. After much-needed and continuous healing and a year-long quarantine on May 18, 2021, Jordan James brings that same idea to TV, now with WBBZ TV and sponsorship by AmeriCorps Seniors, Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, Volunteer Center at HANCI, HANCI, and other Buffalo community members and businesses.
Thank you for waking up with Good Deeds Buffalo. We are back with today's guest, Tom. We were just talking about his passion behind 1-850, a nonprofit focused on raising awareness so more people choose to become life-saving organ donors. Now it's time for How Buffalo Are You? How this works is I'll ask you a series of questions. You'll have 30 seconds to answer each question correctly. If you answer at least half of them correctly, I think we have a surprise for you. Now, if we had a studio audience you couldn't answer, you'd have the option to phone an audience member for help. Since we don't have one yet, I'll allow you to phone a friend if need be. Here we go. Multiple choice question. Which U.S. president was inaugurated in Buffalo, New York? A. William McKinley, B. Millard Fillmore, C. Grover Cleveland, or D. Theodore Roosevelt?
That one I know, as a matter of fact, Theodore Roosevelt. I'm a buff of that stuff.
You got it.
And follow that all the time. So we lucked out on that one.
Correct. So it was Theodore Roosevelt. Now, what do you call someone from Buffalo? A. A buffalope, a B. Buffer, or C. Buffalonian?
I'll go with C.
You got that one correct.
When in doubt, you always go with C.
I know, right? Now, another multiple choice for you. What summer game was invented just outside Buffalo in North Tonawanda, New York? A. Badminton, B. Can Jam, C. Frisbee golf, or D. Horseshoes?
Wow.
I know.
That's an interesting one. I was going to go with carousels, but but I'm stuffed on it. I'll go with C, the traditional thing.
The answer is actually B,
Wow.
Can Jam.
Cool. Okay.
Yes, in North Tonawanda growing up, they certainly taught us that gym, and it was such a fun sport.
Cool.
You should check it out this summer.
I absolutely will.
Now, true or false, the first cancer research lab came about in Buffalo. True or false?
I believe that's true, yeah.
Yes, that is true. Today, we know this as Roswell Park Cancer Institute, and it wasn't an easy road for Dr. Park to get funding approved for the lab. But through patience and persistence, he finally convinced Governor Black at the time, and it was an essential fight for human life. Countless lives are thankful for just one day at Roswell. Now, this is my favorite part of the show because I get to give back to those who give without asking for anything in return. And to start, I reached out to my friend Jessie from West Seneca, who is a 200-hour certified yoga teacher, focusing on restorative and gentle yoga. She loves what you are doing and what you continue to do. She'd like to give you a personalized relaxation session for you and 4 friends, okay?
Wow.
So
Thank you
she'll
very
focus
much.
on simple, gentle movements to create space in your body, connect with your breaths, all while she quiets your mind. What do you think, Tom?
Spectacular. I can absolutely use that.
Right? It sounds like a good time. Now, I also let my good friend Shell, the owner of Images by Shell, know what you do, and she'd like to donate a photo session for you to use to help build your portfolio, maybe some branding shots. Images by Shell is a full-service portrait studio offering in-studio and on-location photo shoots around the Western New York area. Shell has an accessible, all-exclusive studio, and she's the area's only VIP group with multiple sessions leading up to students for their senior year. From maternity to milestone anniversaries, Shell can help capture it all, and I would totally recommend her. I like that. Maybe you'll wear that to the photo
cool.
shoot, right?
Thank you.
Next up, I reached out to my friends at Certified Auto Brokers in Grand Island. They absolutely love what you are doing to raise awareness for organ donors here in New York State. They'd like to offer you a year's worth of oil changes on them.
Wow.
They want to take good care of you, make you feel like part of their family.
Spectacular. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. You see, because at Certified Auto Brokers, they aren't a normal car dealership. Their mission is to provide customers with a buying experience that is extraordinary, a value that is impossible to beat, with a setting both online and in person that is second to none. Now, what are you most excited to use first, Tom?
The yoga.
The yoga.
I need it.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to call Jessie myself and set something up.
That'll be great.
Now, do you know someone you would like for me to highlight for their good deed on Good Deeds Buffalo? This person would be involved in the community and oftentimes our beacon of hope and kindness. Head over to gooddeedsbuffalo.tv and fill out the quick and easy nomination form. If selected, I'll reach out to you for more information. Again, I want to thank you, Tom, for coming on the show. You can learn how to help Tom in his mission online at gooddeedsbuffalo.tv. I want to thank the Hispanic Heritage Council of Western New York, their underwriters, and WBBZ TV for their support. And I also want to thank our gift sponsors, Yoga with Jessie, Images by Shell, and Certified Auto Brokers. Until next time, I'm Jordan James, and this is Good Deeds Buffalo. Thanks for watching. Remember, hate is in the moment, love is forever.